The daughter of an employee is chosen to open the box containing the supposed donation of $1 million. As she touches the bills, she whispers to the magnate, "This money is fake." What seemed like a celebration of generosity becomes the start of a quiet and risky investigation. And everything changes when the millionaire decides to trust the only person who noticed the detail no one else saw. The grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in New York City sparkled with chandeliers and the jewelry of Manhattan's elite. The annual Children's Heart Foundation Gala was the charity event of the season, drawing billionaires, celebrities, and politicians alike. 12-year-old Emily Walker adjusted the collar of her borrowed dress, feeling out of place among the glittering crowd. Her mother, Sarah, had been working as a cleaning supervisor at the plaza for 5 years, and tonight she'd been assigned to oversee the staff for this prestigious event. "Remember, Emmy," Sarah whispered as she straightened her daughter's hair, "we're here to work, not to be seen. Just stay in the back until they need you for the presentation, then do exactly as Mr. Thompson says." Emily nodded, watching her mother disappear into the service corridor. She'd heard the same instructions countless times before. Be invisible. Don't draw attention. Don't cause trouble. Michael Thompson, the event coordinator, approached with an artificial smile. "There you are, Emily. Come along now. Mr. Anderson's $1 million donation will be presented in 15 minutes, and I need you to prepare the display box." Emily followed him to a small preparation room adjacent to the ballroom. In the center of the table sat an ornate wooden box with the Children's Heart Foundation logo engraved on the lid. "Your job is simple," Thompson explained. "When I give the cue, you'll walk to the center of the stage, open the box so that the audience can see the money inside. Then step back. Mr. Anderson and Dr. Bennett from the foundation will take it from there." Emily nodded, but as Thompson left, she couldn't resist peeking inside the box. Neatly arranged stacks of $100 bills filled the interior, more money than she had ever seen. Her grandfather James, a decorated Army veteran who had raised her until his passing 3 years ago, had worked at a bank after his military service. During summer visits, he had taught her about currency, how to spot counterfeits, how real money felt, the security features. Something felt wrong as her fingers brushed against the bills. The paper was too smooth, lacking the distinctive texture of genuine currency. Carefully, she examined one stack more closely. The security strip wasn't embedded properly, and the colors seemed slightly off. Her heart raced as she realized this money was fake. Emily's mind flooded with her grandfather's words. "Integrity isn't what you do when everyone's watching. It's what you do when no one is." A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Robert Anderson, the real estate mogul whose donation was being celebrated tonight, poked his head in. "Everything all right in here? Thompson mentioned you were getting things ready." Emily froze. Her mother would be devastated if she caused trouble, but her grandfather's lessons echoed louder. "Mr. Anderson," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I think there's a problem with the money." Anderson's brow furrowed. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "What kind of problem?" "It's not real," Emily said. "The paper feels wrong. The security features aren't right." Thompson burst in at that moment. "Mr. Anderson, we're almost ready for you." He stopped short, seeing them examining the money. "Is there an issue?" "The young lady believes the money may be counterfeit," Anderson replied calmly, pulling a $100 bill from his wallet. "Let's compare." The difference was immediately obvious. Anderson's expression darkened as he confirmed Emily's suspicion. "What do we do now?" Thompson asked, panicking. "We can't present fake money to the foundation." Anderson studied Emily for a moment, then the box. "Actually, we proceed as planned." "But, sir, the hospital needs this donation, and a public scandal would hurt everyone involved," Anderson explained. "We'll do the presentation, and I'll handle the real transfer privately. Meanwhile, we need to figure out who switched my donation for counterfeit bills and why." Emily looked up at Anderson, surprised by his composure. "You're not angry?" "Not at you," he answered with a slight smile. "You just saved me from a potentially disastrous public embarrassment." "What's your name again?" Emily Walker." "Well, Emily Walker, I think we have work to do after this ceremony. Would you help me solve this mystery?" Before she could answer, Thompson signaled that it was time. Emily walked onto the stage, carrying the wooden box that now represented both a fraud and a secret. As camera flashes popped around her, she wondered what her grandfather would have done in this situation. The weight of the box seemed to grow heavier with each step toward the spotlight, and she could feel Anderson's eyes on her from the side of the stage. The ceremony concluded with thunderous applause as Robert Anderson shook hands with Dr. Bennett, the hospital director. Flashbulbs captured their smiles, the opened box of counterfeit money prominently displayed between them. No one in the audience suspected anything amiss. "Perfect performance," Anderson whispered to Emily as they exited the stage. "Now the real work begins." Within minutes, Anderson had assembled a small group in his private penthouse suite atop the hotel. Emily and Sarah sat nervously on a plush sofa while Anderson's security team secured the perimeter. The wooden box sat on the coffee table, sealed with evidence tape. "Mrs. Walker," Anderson addressed Sarah, "your daughter just prevented what could have been a catastrophic public relations nightmare for me and a devastating blow to the Children's Heart Foundation." Sarah looked at her daughter with a mixture of confusion and concern. "Emily, what did you do?" Before Emily could explain, Anderson intervened. "She noticed that the money in this donation box is counterfeit. Someone replaced my legitimate donation with fake bills." Sarah gasped, instinctively moving closer to Emily. "I'm so sorry." "Mr. Anderson, I hope you don't think we had anything." "On the contrary," Anderson interrupted gently. "I believe your daughter may be the key to finding out who did this." He turned to his head of security, a stern-faced woman named Diana Reynolds, who had access to the donation box before the ceremony. Reynolds consulted her tablet. "Only 4 people. Yourself, Mr. Thompson, the coordinator, your personal assistant, Jason Miller, and the hotel's event manager." "Jason left early, didn't he?" Anderson asked, his expression hardening slightly. "Yes, sir. He claimed food poisoning from the cocktail hour and departed approximately 90 minutes ago." Anderson nodded thoughtfully. "Emily, tell me exactly what you noticed about the box when you first examined it." Emily closed her eyes, trying to recall every detail. The money was stacked neatly, but one of the bundles in the back corner was slightly crooked, like it had been moved in a hurry. Anderson nodded to Reynolds, who carefully removed the evidence tape and opened the box. Following Emily's direction, she lifted the crooked stack of counterfeit bills. Underneath lay a small black device with a blinking red light. "A tracker," Reynolds confirmed, dropping the device into a signal-blocking pouch. "And likely a microphone, too." Anderson's jaw tightened. "So not only did someone swap my donation, but they were listening to our reactions and tracking the money's movement." "The swap must have been interrupted," Reynolds theorized. "Perhaps when Emily entered the preparation room." All eyes turned to Emily, who shrank under the attention. Sarah put a protective arm around her daughter's shoulders. "This is dangerous," Sarah whispered. "We should go." "Mrs. Walker," Anderson said firmly, "I understand your concern, but you and Emily are safer here with my security team than anywhere else tonight. Whoever did this doesn't know that Emily discovered the counterfeit money before the ceremony. You're our ace in the hole." Reynolds' phone buzzed. After a brief conversation, she turned to Anderson. "Sir, we've locked down Jason Miller's accounts as requested. His apartment is empty, and his company car is missing from the garage." Anderson's expression darkened. "He's running. Have your team search his apartment and office thoroughly." The investigation continued late into the night. Emily and Sarah were provided with guest rooms in Anderson's suite, with security posted at the doors. Despite the luxury surroundings, Emily found sleep elusive. Around midnight, she slipped out of bed and wandered to the window, gazing at the glittering Manhattan skyline. "Can't sleep?" Anderson's voice came softly from the doorway. Emily shook her head. "I keep thinking about the fake money." Anderson joined her at the window. "You have an exceptional eye for detail, Emily. Where did you learn about currency?" "My grandfather taught me," she replied. "He worked at a bank after serving in the army. He said knowing the difference between real and fake could save lives someday." "Wise man," Anderson nodded. "I wish I had someone with your integrity working for me." A commotion from the living room interrupted their conversation. Reynolds burst in, her expression urgent. "Sir, we found something. A $5 bill in the staff area, hidden inside a maintenance cabinet that belongs to Thompson." Emily's eyes widened. "That's my bill. I dropped it when I was comparing the money. It has a small blue ink stain in the corner. Reynolds confirmed the matching detail, and Anderson's expression hardened. "Bring Thompson here now." Within 30 minutes, a disheveled and terrified Michael Thompson was escorted into the suite. When confronted with the evidence, he collapsed into tears. "It wasn't me, I swear. Jason told me it was a security test to see if anyone would notice the bills were educational props. When I saw the girl drop that $5 bill, I panicked and hid it." "A foolish witness, not an accomplice," Anderson concluded, dismissing Thompson from his sight. "But this confirms Jason is behind this. The question is why, and where is he now?" As Reynolds escorted Thompson out, Emily noticed something through the penthouse windows. A hotel employee on the rooftop garden staring directly at Anderson's suite. When their eyes met, the man quickly turned away. "Mr. Anderson," Emily said hesitantly, "I think someone's watching us." By morning, rumors had begun to circulate through the hotel staff. Emily noticed the sideways glances and hushed conversations that stopped when she approached. During breakfast in Anderson's suite, she overheard two waiters whispering as they refilled the coffee service. "Heard she made the whole thing up," one said quietly. "Just wanted attention from the rich folks." "My cousin works in events," the other replied. "Says she's angling for a scholarship from Anderson. Pretty clever scam if you ask me." Emily's appetite vanished. Sarah noticed her daughter's discomfort, but misinterpreted the cause. "Don't worry, honey, Mr. Anderson says we can go home soon," Sarah whispered, squeezing Emily's hand. "Just another day of work, then everything goes back to normal." But Emily knew things had already changed irrevocably. The same hotel employee she'd spotted last night appeared again during lunch service, lingering too long while clearing dishes. He never spoke directly to her, but she felt his presence like a shadow that refused to detach. When she mentioned this to Reynolds, the security chief immediately pulled up the hotel's employee database. "His name is Victor Ramirez," Reynolds reported. "Hired 6 months ago as kitchen staff, but recently moved to event services. Interesting coincidence. He previously worked at the same Chicago hotel as Thompson." Anderson frowned. "Keep an eye on him, but don't tip our hand. If he's connected to Jason, he might lead us somewhere useful." Later that afternoon, Emily ventured down to the hotel's grand lobby to escape the confines of the suite. Despite Reynolds assigning a plainclothes security member to shadow her, Emily felt exposed. As she browsed magazines in the gift shop, she overheard two foundation board members talking nearby. "The whole thing stinks," the woman said. "$1 million donation that magically appears and disappears? Anderson's playing games with us." "The press is already asking questions," her companion replied. "That photo of the money box is trending online with all sorts of conspiracy theories attached." Emily froze. Someone had leaked a photo of the counterfeit money. Her hands trembled as she replaced the magazine. Upon returning to the suite, she found Sarah in tears, being comforted by Anderson's assistant, Diana Reynolds. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emily rushed to her side. "Someone told Dr. Bennett that you made up the counterfeit story," Sarah said between sobs. "They're saying I put you up to it to extort money from Mr. Anderson." "That's ridiculous," Emily exclaimed. "I know, honey." Sarah wiped her eyes, suddenly looking more determined than Emily had ever seen her. "And that's exactly what I told Dr. Bennett when she called me to the office." Reynolds nodded approvingly. "Your mother defended you quite impressively. Told the good doctor that if anyone questioned your integrity again, she'd personally escort them to the nearest ophthalmologist to have their judgment examined." Emily stared at her mother in disbelief. Sarah had always preached caution, invisibility and accommodation, never confrontation. Yet here she was, standing up to the hospital director. "I'm tired of being invisible," Sarah explained, seeing her daughter's surprise. "Your grandfather would have never stayed silent in the face of injustice, and neither should we." Anderson entered the room, his expression grave as he ended a phone call. "The situation has escalated. The foundation received an offer from an anonymous donor willing to replace my $1 million with conditions." "What conditions?" Reynolds asked. "They want 3 seats on the hospital board, immediate cessation of our private investigation, and control over the new cardiac wing's operational budget," Anderson replied. "Classic hostile takeover attempt, using the charity as leverage." "It's Jason, isn't it?" Emily asked. "This was his plan all along. Anderson nodded. I believe so. He's working for someone who wants control of the hospital, probably for the real estate and research contracts. He turned to Sarah. Mrs. Walker, I'd like to offer you a position as my Director of Hospitality Services across my hotel properties. Sarah blinked in confusion. Mr. Anderson, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm just a cleaning supervisor who stood up to a hospital director and managed to raise a daughter with exceptional observational skills and unimpeachable ethics, Anderson countered. Those qualities are far rarer than experience with spreadsheets and management systems, which can be taught. Before Sarah could respond, Anderson's phone buzzed with an urgent message from Reynolds. Sir, we've got movement. Jason Miller just tried to access his secondary bank account. He's in the financial district, attempting to convert cash to assets, specifically rare gold coins. Anderson's eyes lit up. The oldest money laundering technique in Manhattan. Convert suspicious cash to collector's items, then sell them later as legitimate assets. He turned to Emily. We have one chance to catch him, but I need your help again. My help? How? Your grandfather taught you about real money, Anderson explained. We need to know if what Jason's carrying is the original donation or more counterfeit bills. But he knows my security team's faces. You want to use my daughter as bait? Sarah interjected, alarmed. Not bait, Anderson assured her. An observer behind one-way glass. She'll be completely safe. Emily looked between her mother and Anderson. I want to help. This all happened because I noticed something wrong. I should help make it right. Sarah hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. We'll do it together. I'm not letting Emily out of my sight. Anderson smiled for the first time that day. Perfect. Reynolds, prepare the operation. We'll need the secure room at Goldstein's Numismatics by 9 a.m. tomorrow. As night fell over Manhattan, Emily stood again at the penthouse window, watching the city lights. The employee who had been following her, Victor Ramirez, was being questioned by Reynolds' team in another room. The rumors about her continued to spread through the hotel staff. Yet despite everything, Emily felt strangely calm. Her grandfather's voice seemed to whisper in her ear, sometimes seeing the truth when no one else does is a burden. But it's also a gift. Use it wisely. Morning arrived with a steady drizzle that slicked the streets of Manhattan. A black SUV with tinted windows delivered Emily, Sarah, and Robert Anderson to a discreet side entrance of Goldstein's Numismatics, an upscale coin dealer in the heart of the financial district. The store wouldn't open to the public for another hour, giving Reynolds and her team time to prepare. Remember, Anderson instructed as they entered the back room, Jason doesn't know we're on to him. As far as he's concerned, he's meeting Mr. Goldstein to convert cash to collector's gold coins, a standard transaction for the right price. The back room had been transformed into an observation post. One wall featured a large one-way mirror overlooking the private transaction room, where Jason would be meeting the coin dealer, actually an undercover member of Reynolds' security team. Emily, you'll watch from here, Anderson explained. All we need to know is whether the money Jason brings is the real donation or more counterfeit bills. What if it's real? Emily asked. Then we've confirmed he stole my actual donation, Anderson replied. If it's fake, then we know he's involved in a larger counterfeiting operation, which means federal authorities need to be notified immediately. Sarah stood protectively beside her daughter. And we'll be completely safe in here. Reynolds nodded. 2 armed security personnel will be with you at all times. The door locks from the inside, and there's a direct exit to the alley where our second vehicle is waiting. Despite these assurances, Sarah looked unconvinced. Emily squeezed her mother's hand. We'll be okay, Mum, she said. Remember what you told Dr. Bennett. We're done being invisible. Sarah's expression softened and she nodded. You're right. Your grandfather would be proud of you, Emmy. The store owner, Morris Goldstein, a longtime friend of Anderson's, entered the back room. He's here. Right on schedule. Anderson checked his watch. Perfect. Place is everyone. The lights dimmed in the observation room as Emily, Sarah, Anderson, and Reynolds took their positions behind the one-way mirror. On the other side, Jason Miller entered, carrying a sleek leather briefcase. He looked different from the polished assistant Emily remembered from the gala, unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes and a nervous energy to his movements. The undercover agent playing Mr. Goldstein greeted him warmly. Mr. Wilson, I understand you're interested in my American Eagle gold coin collection. Jason nodded curtly. I have cash. 1 million. I need this transaction completed quickly. May I see the funds? Jason placed the briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside were neatly stacked bundles of $100 bills, identical to those Emily had seen in the donation. Box. The bills look perfect, Emily whispered to Anderson. But something's wrong with the wrappers. The wrappers? Anderson asked, leaning closer to the glass. Bank money has slightly yellowed paper bands from being in the vault, Emily explained, recalling her grandfather's lessons. These are bright white like they're brand new. Real banks don't use new wrappers for old money. Anderson nodded appreciatively at Emily's observation. On the other side of the glass, the transaction continued. The undercover agent examined the money, showing no signs of suspicion. An excellent collection, Jason was saying. I've researched the market value, and 1 million is fair for the entire set. As the agent began to reach for the coins, Jason suddenly paused. His eyes narrowed, focusing on the wall behind the dealer, the wall with the one-way mirror. He cocked his head slightly, studying the reflection. Is something wrong, Mr. Wilson? The agent asked. Jason didn't answer. Instead, he slowly approached the mirror, his eyes scanning methodically across its surface. He knows, Reynolds whispered, reaching for her radio. He's made the observation room. In the transaction room, Jason placed his palm against the glass, leaning in until his face was inches from the mirror. Emily instinctively stepped back, though she knew he couldn't see her. I need to use your restroom, Jason announced abruptly, turning away from the mirror. Of course, the agent replied, gesturing toward a door. Through there, first door on the left. As soon as Jason disappeared through the door, Reynolds activated her radio. He's suspicious. Alpha team, maintain positions. Bravo team, secure the rear exit. The tension in the observation room was palpable. Sarah moved closer to Emily, placing a protective arm around her shoulders. What do we do now? Sarah asked. We wait, Anderson replied, his expression grim. He'll either return and complete the transaction or... An alarm blared, cutting off Anderson's words. Reynolds's radio crackled with urgent voices. Subject is attempting to exit through the service corridor. Moving to intercept. He's running, Anderson confirmed, turning to Emily and Sarah. Stay here. This room is the safest place for you both. Before either could protest, Anderson and Reynolds rushed out, leaving Emily and Sarah with the 2 security guards. Through the one-way mirror, they could see the briefcase still open on the table, the counterfeit money visible inside. I should have known this wouldn't work, Sarah said, her voice tight with anxiety. We should never have gotten involved. Emily shook her head. No, Mom, we did the right thing. Grandpa always said that doing the right thing isn't always the easy thing. Suddenly, the lights in the observation room flickered. One of the security guards moved to the door, hand on his weapon. Stay away from the walls and windows, he instructed, his voice calm but authoritative. The radio on the second guard's belt crackled with static. Then Reynolds's voice cut through. Suspect is cornered in the eastern corridor. All units converge. Maintain observation room security. Emily could hear muffled shouts and the sound of running footsteps from somewhere in the building. Sarah pulled her closer, both of them watching the door with apprehension. It'll be okay, Emily whispered, though her heart was racing. Mr. Anderson won't let anything happen to us. The lights stabilized, and for several tense minutes they waited in silence. Then the radio crackled again. Suspect in custody. Area secure. Repeat, area secure. Both guards visibly relaxed. Moments later, the door opened and Reynolds entered, looking slightly disheveled but triumphant. We got him, she announced. Jason tried to escape through a service entrance, but our team was waiting. He's being held in a secure room until the FBI arrives. Sarah exhaled a shaky breath. Is it over then? Reynolds nodded. Almost. Mr. Anderson would like you both to join him upstairs. There's one more piece to this puzzle that needs solving. As they followed Reynolds through the corridors of the building, Emily noticed the briefcase being carried by another security team member, now sealed in an evidence bag. In a private office upstairs, Anderson waited with a grim expression that transformed into a smile when he saw them enter. Emily, Sarah, he greeted them warmly. Thanks to you, we've not only caught Jason, but we've uncovered something much bigger than a simple theft. Anderson's office overlooking Wall Street, hummed with activity as federal agents documented evidence and conducted interviews in adjoining rooms. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Emily could see the rain had stopped, leaving the city gleaming under patches of blue sky. Jason confessed almost immediately, Anderson explained, gesturing for Emily and Sarah to take seats across from his desk. He's been stealing from me for years, skimming small amounts and replacing them with counterfeits, confident no one would notice the difference. But why risk $1 million swap? Sarah asked. That seems certain to be discovered. Pride, Anderson replied simply. Success made him overconfident. He believed if he could pull off something this audacious, he'd cement his reputation with his partners, a network of financial criminals who've been laundering money through charitable organizations across the East Coast. The anonymous donor offering to replace your donation, Emily realized. That was part of their plan too. Anderson nodded. They wanted control of the hospital board to facilitate their operations. When you exposed the counterfeit money, they accelerated their timeline, not realizing we were already investigating. Sarah shook her head in disbelief. And what about that man who was following Emily, Victor? A relatively minor player, Reynolds interjected, entering with a tablet in hand. He was hired to monitor the situation and intimidate witnesses if necessary. He's cooperating fully with authorities now. Anderson's phone buzzed. After a brief conversation, his expression brightened considerably. That was the hospital. I've just transferred $2 million to their account, double my original pledge. The funds will establish a new pediatric cardiac wing. He smiled at Emily. It will be named the James Walker Memorial Wing, in honor of your grandfather who taught you the value of integrity. Emily's eyes widened. Really? Grandpa would have... Her voice caught with emotion. It's the least I can do, Anderson assured her. But that's not all. He slid a folder across the desk towards Sarah. As discussed, I'd like to formally offer you the position of Director of Hospitality Services for Anderson Properties. The starting salary is noted on page 3, along with relocation assistance to a company apartment until you decide on permanent housing. Sarah opened the folder, her hands trembling slightly. Her eyes widened as she read the details. Mr. Anderson, this is incredibly generous, but it's not charity, Anderson interrupted gently. It's an investment in talent. You managed to raise a daughter with exceptional character while working multiple jobs. That's exactly the kind of leadership I need in my organization. Sarah looked at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. Then I accept, Sarah said, her voice firm. Thank you for this opportunity. Excellent. Anderson slid a second, smaller envelope across the desk. This one addressed to Emily. This is for you. Inside was an acceptance letter to Westridge Academy, one of Manhattan's most prestigious private schools. A full scholarship, Anderson explained. Their ethics and business program is unmatched. Found they were quite impressed by your observational skills and integrity when I described the events of the past few days. Emily stared at the letter in disbelief. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Anderson suggested with a smile. The world needs more people who can spot what's wrong, even when everyone else misses it. The next few hours passed in a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and arrangements. By evening, Emily and Sarah found themselves standing in a luxury suite at Anderson's flagship hotel, their temporary home, until they found a permanent residence. I can't believe how much has changed in just 3 days, Sarah marveled, gazing out at the city skyline. The same view they'd had from Anderson's penthouse, but now somehow different. Your grandfather always said that one moment of courage could change everything. Do you think he'd be proud? Emily asked, joining her mother at the window. More than you know, Sarah replied, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. He always said you had the honest eye, the ability to see what's really there, not what others want you to see. Emily smiled, thinking of her grandfather's lessons about counterfeit bills and authentic living. The city looks the same from up here, she observed, but everything's different now. Because of you, Sarah said. Because you spoke up when it would have been easier to stay quiet. A knock at the door interrupted their moment. Reynolds stood in the hallway with a small package. From Mr. Anderson, she explained. He thought you might want this as a keepsake. Inside the package was a framed $5 bill, Emily's bill with the blue ink stain, now mounted in a sleek frame with an engraved plaque that read, Sometimes the smallest detail makes the biggest difference. There's a note, Reynolds added, handing Emily a sealed envelope. The handwritten message inside was brief but meaningful. Emily, true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the courage to distinguish real from counterfeit when no one is watching. Your grandfather's legacy lives on through you. Robert Anderson. As Reynolds departed, Emily placed the framed bill on the windowsill where the last light of sunset illuminated it. Real or counterfeit, in the end, money was just paper. What mattered was the ability to see the truth when everyone else missed it, and the courage to speak that truth, even when the whole world was telling you to remain invisible. Sarah's new phone chimed with a message from Anderson, the press conference announcing the James Walker Memorial Wing would take place tomorrow morning. They were both invited to attend, not as staff but as honored guests. Ready for our new life? Sarah asked, her voice stronger and more confident than Emily had ever heard it. Emily nodded, thinking of her grandfather's favorite saying, "Integrity isn't inherited. It's chosen every day." She had made her choice in that prep room when she first touched the counterfeit bills, and that choice had transformed their lives in ways she could never have imagined. Ready, she confirmed, turning from the window to embrace the future that stretched before them, a future built on nothing more complicated than the simple decision to tell the truth when it would have been easier to remain silent.